What's going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rays, and today we're bringing a Rainbow Six Extraction video to you. Now, I've managed to pick this up on the Game Pass, on the Xbox Game Pass for PC, and overall I'm having a blast with this game. I do think it's kind of enjoyable. I don't think it really matches that of Rainbow Six Siege, but it's nice to have some kind of like PvE kind of element rather than just doing something like a terrorist hunt, and it definitely mixes it up. It definitely makes it a little bit kind of on the unexpected side. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and you have to be very strategic when it comes to actually playing this game. Now, I do think the challenge is definitely there. I mean, I'm regularly playing on this on second difficulty when it comes to doing some of these hunts, and wow, yeah, it's. I mean, maybe to do like quite often objective 2 or 3, but it does recommend that you level up your operators a little bit higher in this kind of skill tree to be able to start doing those tier difficulty 3 and 4s, just to be able to, so you can keep up with the enemies that are going to be. So what this video is going to be is we're going to try and get you so that you know which of your operators you want to be able to level up early in this game, and so you can actually like start building your roster to be able to try and tackling some of those higher difficulties. So before we get started, before we have a look into my top picks, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel out. And once again, we have hit that 2k subscriber mark, so make sure you keep an eye out for how you can be able to enter to be able to take part in the giveaway that we do, because we want to be able to give straight back to yourselves, and you know, just as our way of being it's our gratitude and our way of saying thank you for all the support you've done. So make sure you drop a like and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. So first up, and this is a personal favourite of myself, I'm going to recommend Vigil. Now, Vigil is a very fast character. He has some very good kind of equipment, kind of gear to be able to take in, but I do think his the gadget that he brings that's special to him is one of the best abilities in this whole game. And what he brings is the ERC8 Disruptor, and what this does is when you activate it, it just makes you basically invisible to all the enemies that are pretty much around you. It's basically a get out of jail free card. It's just so good, and it has a very quick cooldown. Now, this is one of the few abilities in this game that does actually cool down, rather than you having to be able to find boxes to be able to replenish. And the fact that you can level this character up, and it means that your cooldown gets shorter every single time, and your duration lasts a little bit longer, that's absolutely spot on. Now, there are a couple of caveats to this ability. Just know that as soon as you take a shot, that ability goes, it turns itself off. It's just purely a passive kind of ability, so it's just to be able to take it out of the fight, rather than to actually put you. Well, you could use it to be able to put yourself into one, but just know that you won't really see as much of a benefit if you do that. Also, any kind of like sprinting will also disable it, so therefore you have to be able to move at a walk pace. But obviously the only way that's going to really become a problem, because obviously the duration of this ability is if you're in some kind of sprawl, and that obviously slows down your movement, so it might leave you in a bit of an inopportune moment, and even if you try to take a shot, it will actually then take to be able to get rid of the sprawl, to be able to move a bit quicker, it then turns your ability off. So just keep in mind where you're actually planning to use this, but it is definitely one of the better ones to do. Now, if you can actually get this operator all the way up to level 10, it does mention that teammates close to Vigil also disrupt enemies and have their speed set to 4. So what this will do is it will bump up the speed of every single operator that's that's nearby to you. So this doesn't matter if they're already speed 3. This does not matter if they're already just like speed 1, have an armor 3 or anything like that. They literally all get set to speed 4, so they move a little bit quicker, and they also get to be invisible to enemies as well, which is absolutely amazing. And that does really bode well with like the team kind of side of things when it comes to this game, because obviously you do kind of want to stick together to be able to like maximize your chance of survival when it comes to this game. The last thing I really want to touch on with Vigil when it comes to it is his gear, and the K1A is such a good weapon. Now, obviously, you know, it comes as standard with suppressor, and I still recommend that you do go with the suppressor. I do think that the suppressor is probably one of the best attachments when it comes to Rainbow Six Extraction, but the K1A is just such a stable machine. You barely need to worry about any kind of like recoil control. You're not going to see many bullets go left or right or anything like that. It's purely going to be a very slow, straight vertical recoil pattern, and it just makes it one of the most easiest weapons to be able to manage in this game. So I highly recommend that you pick up Vigil, give him a go, and let me know how you get on with him. So number 2 on my list as well, ones that I would recommend, is pretty much one that you get active straight away, and that's Finka. And I do like Finka in Rainbow Six Siege, and I think she bodes really, really well when it comes to this game as well. When it comes to Finka, she has a 2 speed, 2 armor, which means that she's, you know, she's not really slow, but she is able to take a little bit of damage at the same time, and I think it's a very nice balance until you get her a little bit more upgraded. When it comes to a kit though, basically her weapons hit like a truck but are very slow firing, so just bear that in mind, that if you're about to be bum rushed by everything, it's not necessarily going to help. But that also helps with the recoil department, which means that you're able to take out enemies from a little bit longer distance, even if you were to hold down the trigger for things like nests. Therefore you can engage at a little bit longer range when it comes to it. The other thing to really take away is the fact that her individual gadget of Adrenal Surge temporarily boosts your your abilities. So when it comes to like reloads, it will reduce those. If it comes to aim down sights, it will also reduce those. It gives you a little bit of bump of a temporary health as well, which is very, very nice, because obviously health and medikits can be a bit scarce in this game. And it also revives any down teammates to be able to prevent a knockout. So you don't have to be near them, you can just carry on engaging in the fight. You just pop your ability and they get back up with obviously a little bit of health there as well. So overall, she has really good kit. It bodes really well in a team kind of environment. It also does really well in a solo as well, because obviously the fact that you can boost up your reload speed and obviously your aim down sights, it just makes you feel like a bit of a better character, and it just makes you a better lone like solo wolf in that kind of regard. If you have a look into an advancement tree, she is able to pick up a little bit more extra armor to be able to bump her up to a 3 armor, which is very, very nice. You can actually get it so that the ability teammates within 10 meters will also gain a 3 health boost per second, up to a total of 30, so it gives you a little bit more of health. And then you can, at the very last one at level 10, you are able to get it so it gains 4 health boost per second, up to a total of 40 health. So it basically is kind of like a dock that you don't have to aim, you don't have to get your teammates to stand near you or anything like that. You literally can just pop an ability and everyone gets basically some extra health and a little bit of nice combat awareness and all that kind of thing. So overall, I do think Fink is probably one of the better ones. She does get access to an LMG as well, just in case that really takes your fancy, to be able to go in with all that firepower. But overall, I do think she's a top tip, and especially for early game, I do think she's probably one of the best ones out there. Next up is, it's kind of hard for me to recommend. I do think it's probably one of the best operators that's currently in this game, and that's Ella. And the fact that her ability is just that good, but her weaponry really, it doesn't bode well for me. I do think that she's got a really good... The Scorpion Evo, for example, is a really good gun. It's able to dish out a lot of bullets. It's able to fire ridiculously quick because it has a rate of fire of 1,080 rounds per minute. You know, the mobility is top notch, but the insane recoil that this puts out is ridiculous, and it just basically just gets rid of anything to be able to hold down that trigger from anything up to like medium range, just because it will just go everywhere. It will kick like a mule. You can actually replace this gun, and obviously you do need to work a little bit further so that you can obviously get Ella leveled up. But then she gets access to an LMG, and I do think the LMG is going to be a better recoil pattern. It's going to be a better kind of... it comes with a better damage kind of profile as well. I do think that's probably going to be the best way to be able to go with. It'll just be interesting to see what the reload is on that. And then lastly, you also have the M762, and it's a really good assault rifle. She doesn't get access to it in Rainbow Six Siege, but her sister Zofia does, and therefore you're able to... I bet how they've done this game, you're able to use the same kind of weaponry if they come from the same kind of country as well. So I do think that's probably going to be the best one to be able to go for as soon as I actually have that unlocked. But for now, the Scorpion Evo is definitely better than the shotgun, but the damage is a bit pitiful. The magazine capacity is great, but the fire rate is great, but it does also come with that drawback of obviously the really bad kind of like recoil management or anything like that. So it does make it very difficult to be able to keep your bullets on target. If you take that away, everything else about Ella is perfect. The fact that she's ridiculously quick, her gadget is a proxy mine that you're able to chuck on walls, so you can cover your own back and to be able to stun enemies. The stun is when you're in early days, you don't have access to a stun grenade. The stun that comes with this is perfect, and it also recharges over time, which means you don't have to go get any more react, a bit of like equipment to be able to stock yourself back up. Absolutely stunning, and absolutely stunning. I've just realised there's a pun there. And Obviously, as you level Ella up, she's able to increase the ability in that way. So the level 2, the stun duration increases to 10 seconds, which is absolutely brilliant. You're able to increase her speed, that shows how quickly she's able to move around. Being able to help out with teammates in case you actually pick them up. Stun rating is increased at level 7, and the recharge time is reduced, which is great. Able to get a little bit more extra armor. And then lastly, the level 10, you get an increase to your mine count, and the recharge time is reduced even further down to 60 seconds, so you get them back a little bit quicker. Overall, I do think Ella is definitely better. I do think you should probably replace the Scorpion Evo for it. Like I said, in Rainbow Six Siege, the Scorpion Evo is probably one of the best guns that actually exist, because more rate of fire means more chance of a bullet hitting the head, being an instant kill. But when it comes to this game, you don't want to do that. You want to go for something that's a bit more precise. You want to go for something that's a bit more reliable when it comes to this game. So therefore, I recommend swapping that out as soon as you can when you hit level 6 to be able to try out the LMG. But yes, Ella is definitely one of the better operators in this, and it's definitely worth leveling her up. Next up, we've got an operator that I haven't touched myself, but I do know that it's going to be one that I'm going to be taking out very, very soon, and that's the fact that we've got Sledge in this game. Now, Sledge is one of my favourites when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege, but I haven't really used him in this because I was trying to figure out what's the point in using the Breaching Hammer. Now, the Breaching Hammer, you don't really see the usefulness until you actually start playing this game, and there's so many walls that are just kind of like there that obviously you can reinforce. But there's some that like stop you from getting towards an objective, and it pushes you into a more dangerous path. What Sledge will do is be able to open that up for you, so that you don't have to worry about taking impact grenades or anything like that. You don't have to worry about firing your gun to be able to start making some holes so you can actually walk through. It just opens up more possibilities for you, and it's nice utility to be able to have. Now, the kit that he has, the shotgun, I haven't tried out shotguns in this game just yet, but I imagine we would do pretty decently, especially in those early rounds, so I can't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to use it. I would probably recommend that swapping it over to the L85A2 as soon as you hit level 6, but, you know, that's a little bit of a way off, and hopefully that still performs the same way as Siege, where it has a really nice recoil pattern. And then lastly, you've got the pistol. And the pistol is a pretty decent pistol. I think you're probably able to fall back on that quite popular. But at level 3, you unlock the SMG, so you actually do have a very nice full auto gun to be able to take in with you. If we have a look into the upgrades that he's able to come, obviously he does bring the tactical hammer. You can now charge up the hammer at level 2 to be able to do a stronger and a wider attack. Obviously that will be kind of dependent on obviously everything that's in front of you. At level 4, obviously, you're able to go a little bit quicker, which is great, and it's quite a nice perk to have at level 5, where you're able to pick up teammates with a little bit more extra health. At level 7, you're able to charge the hammer wood to now stun sowers, rooters, and lurkers, and your swing speed and damage is increased, which is great. You get additional armor to be able to go to level 5. And then lastly, Charged Hammer swings now stun Tormentors and Smashers, which obviously will be a bit more useful when you get into those harder difficulties, because they start spawning a little bit more frequently, which is great. So overall, I do think that Sledge has the chance to be one of those better ones. Like I said, I haven't touched him myself, but he's definitely going to be one on my next agenda to be able to start leveling up. And then lastly, we've got another one of my favourites when it comes to attackers, when it comes to Siege, and this is IQ, or as some people, if you've watched the Russian Badger, you probably call him Ick. IQ is, I'm going to call him IQ for this, but for the purpose of this, IQ is one of my favourites that I started out because the AUG A2 is a very nice assault rifle. I'm a massive fan of bullpups in real life, and I always gravitated straight towards the AUG A2 before the Sam Fisher or Zero came out in Siege and brought the F2000, which is probably one of my all-time favourite guns that's ever appeared in real life. So the AUG A2 is a very nice platform to be able to use in this game. It's very stable, it's got a very respectable fire rate, and damage is very respectable as well, and it doesn't hinder your mobility whatsoever. So it's definitely one of the better guns to be able to take in, especially when you're on like early levels or anything like that. It's always a one-shot headshot to most of the enemies. Obviously, as soon as you start seeing the harder, the more boss ones, like the sowers or the tormentors or anything like that, it still will take a little bit of damage, obviously, but it would take about one mag, maybe a little bit more, just to be able to take them down. I still think that's a very respectable time to kill, and like I said, the AUG A2 is definitely one of the easier guns to be able to control, so it's definitely not a hard thing to be able to do. So the pistol, on the other hand, is decent. It's respectable enough. I mean, it's just a standard pistol that comes with a suppressor as standard. But obviously, this then goes with your ability, which is the red mark for Spectre, and this allows you to be able to detect equipment and more through obstacles. Now, this detects more and more things as you level your character up. But as standard, it's nice to be able to ping through walls. Where you're able to see things like med kits, and you're able to see how you'll be able to get more grenades or something along those lines. So you're able to see them through walls, press your ping button, and it will mark that on your HUD just as standard, so you know how you're able to get over there. And obviously you can just put this away and you can swap back to your primary, or you can just carry on walking around with your pistol. Either way is absolutely fine. It's definitely able to wallbang as well, which is quite nice, especially with when it's paired with the flashlight that obviously comes on every single gun. And so, you know, it's a decent gun. It's not one that I would primarily fall back onto, or just run around as like a main primary or anything. I'd definitely swap to the AUG and then have the P12 fallback as like an emergency option or something like that. If we have a look into the upgrades, then obviously we're able to, at standard, we're able to detect react equipment. At level 2, we're able to detect spores, solar mines, arch spines, nutrient nodes through the Spectre, which is great, and it just helps with a little bit more of like a threat detection kind of side of things. At level 4, we're able to get a little bit more armor. At level 5, we're able to carry extra magazines per weapon, which is quite nice, because there's a couple of times you will fall a bit short, especially if you're trying to share the ammunition out. At level 7, we've got high frequency, detecting lurkers and smashers while using the Spectre, regardless of their cloaking ability. At level 8, we're able to increase our speed up to 5, so we're actually at an extra 35% movement speed. And then lastly, the full spectrum detects its apexes and proteans when using the Spectre, regardless of cloaking ability, and the detection range is increased. So basically, your ability is allowed to be able to pick up everything. So rather than having to worry about your flashlight and being able to look through wooden walls or anything like that to be able to pick up if anything's on the other side, you can activate your ability and you can literally just have a look around and just detect everything in the local vicinity, so you know what's coming up and you can actually work with your team to be able to tackle that threat a little bit easier. I believe that also the ping system will also work with that, so therefore you're able to find certain boss for the kind of like proteans and all that kind of thing, and you can literally ping them through walls, so at least you know where they're going to be. So overall, I do think this is a very good character. I think the kit that she has is absolutely spot on. At level 9, she does gain access to the G8A1 light machine gun, and I'm very interested to try that out and just see how that works, because in Siege that was a decent gun, and I'd be interested in see how the firepower of that really holds up in Rainbow Six Extraction. So anyways, that brings us to the end of the video, and that's my top 5 operators that I would recommend leveling up in early game. And these are the ones that I would recommend that you focus on before you start moving on to other ones. And they really do help it in a team environment, but they also help out in a solo environment as well. So I hope you've learned something with this, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like and a subscribe. It really does help the channel out. Massive thank you to the Babylonian family. As always, their names appears at the end of every single one of our videos. And massive thank you if you made it this far to the end of our video, all the way into the end of our video. As always, that just leaves me to say, keep yourselves safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on our next video.